All right, so now let's look at problem 2 on the review. So there, this one I chose because I like the physics involved, but I like the idea of the pumpkin being shot at with arrows. I think that's just a good setup for a problem in general. So you have the 3 arrows being shot at the pumpkin. One hits it and sticks, one goes all the way through, and one bounces off. And so if you remember that, because now we have multiple objects acting together, so we have to do collisions, momentum conservation. And then impulse will be a little bit of that. But then after it gets hit, it swings to a certain height, and so after the hit, we can figure out that the energy is going to be conserved. And I'll explain the answers. So here are the correct answers to 2A. 2A is that the bouncing off one has the highest angle, the embedded one has the second highest angle, and the one it passes through is the third highest angle. And we'll talk about where that comes from. So the idea is the angle depends on how high it swings. So that's what we're trying to rank. And if once it's been hit, it just swings up, we figure out, oh, the pumpkin has to have been given some amount of kinetic energy down at the bottom, and it starts to swing upwards. So the angle will depend on the amount of kinetic energy. So the faster it's going after the collision, the higher it's going, higher angle it's going to get to. When the arrow passes through, the most of the momentum stays with the arrow, so it doesn't transfer much momentum, so it doesn't have very much kinetic energy. If it embeds itself, it transfers all the momentum, giving it kinetic energy. But if it bounces off, it not only stops itself, but then it accelerates itself in the other direction. So there's up to double the change in momentum. So the double the increased speed. If you remember, the idea we talked about was like the rubber bullet versus the lead bullet, or the idea of if you imagine a skateboarder or somebody on roller skates, you toss them a medicine ball and they catch it. If you toss it and they catch it, this is the case where they're gonna start moving away. But if they then throw it back at you, they're gonna start moving even faster because they've transferred momentum twice. So that's what happens in the bounce. So you have to be prepared for that. So you need to write that together as kind of a coherent paragraph.